And, and it's not going to be published anywhere. So,
so we're
yeah.
recording now.
Okay, great. All right. So we're talking about chapter 6, Joygasms Galore. Let pleasure have her way with you. And I'd love it if you would, well, let's just step through the questions and let your intuition play. So what would you say is the purpose of Sex with Soul? And that's the book. I mean, that's the audio and the book, as well as just that concept.
Yeah, it's the book by Neil Carter, and it's called Sex for the Soul, actually.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, no kidding. Oh, I thought it was Sex with Soul. All right.
Let me get the exact title here.
It's Tantra.
Yeah.
Colon.
Yeah. Oh, I went to the wrong place. Tantra, Sex for the Soul.
Sex for the Soul. Thank you. So
I think this book is very timely, even though the topic is like thousands of years old. It's been discussed, and my background as a Vajrayana Tibetan Buddhist, and as a practice, a mindfulness practice called Karma Mudra. I think she wrote this book to increase the potential of love on this planet, to actually reframe the idea of making love as satisfying each other sexually, to making love, actually producing love, actually producing love that goes beyond the two people who are making the love. So, it's a timely book, in my opinion, because the paradigm is shifting right now because of all the chaos in the world, or maybe the chaos is being produced by the shift from confused masculine paradigm, group consciousness, to divine feminine, which is asking for that baseline of love. And we're talking about unconditional love, not bargained love, not I'll do this if you do that, and making contracts. So I wrote, and when I was making my notes, I said, bringing love to its highest potential in an experiential way, not using each other to get love. Loving as a practice. If one can balance their own masculine and feminine energies within themselves, they can actually practice balancing those energies with their partner, with the closest person in an intimate relationship. So I think it's a guidebook for creating an energetic awareness that is based on transparency. That's the key. It's not about all of the striving that we are used to doing, shaping each other, shaping ourselves to fit the person's idea of who I think they think I should be. It's all of that that's causing all this disconnect. So it's potentially, if it's practiced as a lifestyle, what I'm just going to refer to as Tantra, if it's practiced as a lifestyle, this transparency, this willingness to see and be seen, it's potentially extremely transformative, not just for the two people who are practicing it together, but for everyone around them. I think it can create huge waves of a different way of being altogether, which I think is appropriate because the old way is not working at all.
Not working in couples, and it's not working beyond that.
Well, if it's not working personally, it's not working on a grand scale.
Yeah.
Everything starts at home. Everything starts with oneself. And then, of course, if you think you're cool all by yourself, then try it out with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And see how cool you really are.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think gets what would get in the way of someone being transparent or being able to go
Fear,
to that place?
fear,
Yeah.
fear of not being enough, fear of not being loved for who they really are, fear of
Mm-hmm.
rejection, fear of being taken advantage of, fear of being not trusting themselves or the other person. Uh,
Mm.
all of those fears are knitted into us through the old paradigm. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on all media. It's being promoted, actually. You have to be, this and that and this and that to be loved.
Mm-hmm. To sell, in order to sell things.
Well, we're selling each other the idea that we aren't enough.
Mm.
We're buying it. We've bought it, and it's absolutely dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
This is my opinion, but yeah, that needs to go. So what's it going to be replaced with?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So what would women be moving toward? Why would they face all those fears? Because every woman I talk to has at least half of those are at play.
Well, it's an opportunity to show up with your whole to show up fully as yourself and to really find true love for yourself first. True acceptance that you are enough, that you're not only enough, but that you're actually divine, a divine being, an empowered being, a being capable of anything. We are unlimited beings. So you can start there with the idea that you've been sold a bill of goods to think that you're not enough, or that you aren't lovable, or that someone's not going to love you for exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can practice that with someone else. And when I say practice it, I mean actually cultivate that willingness to love someone unconditionally as a practice.
And so it starts with the willingness. It
I
doesn't start
start
being
with even seeing that it's a possibility as something to practice, as something to engage in, as a lifestyle. It's not like you're going to be perfect at it, but if you see it as a possible avenue for massive transformation,
Mm.
for yourself and for your intimacy with someone else, it starts to get exciting. Like, well, why wouldn't you try that? The old way's not working at all.
Right.
Settling for less. You're not dead yet. Why would you settle for less?
Mm.
It's a really, really interesting concept. It's practicing truth, practicing transparency, practicing unconditional love, practicing being at home and celebrating what actually is in the moment. It's like meditation practice, except you're doing it
Mhm.
in a sexual context.
So this takes a lot of courage. If we just even leave the body part out of it,
Right?
and just say, I'm just going to do this, be transparent in my feelings and what I say and all that. That takes a lot of courage. But then you bring the body into it and all of the, issues with body image, especially as women get older. We don't have this, perkiness in our body that things are moving or shifting, usually
That's not
lower.
what someone loves anyway.
Huh?
That's not what someone loves anyway.
Hmm.
That's an old myth too, that we need to somehow overturn that somebody loves you for your perky breasts. That is not what someone truly loves about someone else. If you can picture someone being completely accepting and loving to you unconditionally, that it would inspire you to be completely willing and loving and honest with them, but you're not talking about body parts here. The body parts are just a way to express that love, to practice it. It's my opinion.
I love it. It's very, it's exciting. And I'm just, so I'm exploring with you what would stop somebody from doing it? Why would they want to go in that direction? And then what might stop them or be hard about it?
I think the hard thing is trying to maintain a conditional relationship where it's not opening you up. If you can't relax completely with the person that you're the most intimate with, then there's definitely something that needs to be looked at. And I know this for a fact because I just got out of a very long marriage where it didn't, we couldn't do it. I couldn't really relax. And I think that's one of the fundamental keys of this type of intimacy, is that the woman has to feel honored and she has to feel safe on a very, very deep emotional level. She has to feel honored. And again, we're coming from a paradigm that's dying an ugly death, where women don't feel honored.
And so if a woman's in a relationship, let's say she's in a relationship, even a long-term one, where she's noticing now that she asked herself that question, am I able to relax with my spouse, my partner?
Right.
And the answer is no. And she wants to have that. Where would she start?
Start by reading this book with her partner. And then if both parties are willing, it doesn't matter if you've got 20 years under the bridge, 30 years under the bridge, or however many. If two people are willing to actually start afresh with a different point of view, I don't see why it couldn't work. I think it's scary to just keep lying to each other. I think I think it's worth a shot. There's many, many more books like this. I looked back at our texts with each other, Lee, and I see that I gave you a book list of my top 5. That
Thank you. You did.
I think, start there and take it on as a course of study and realize that it's not going to happen overnight, because we're so conditioned to think of intimacy in such a different way, as sexuality in such a different way, the old way of sexuality. And when you start to notice it in yourself, you see it everywhere, is to cajole and dominate and be subservient to all of this power play, struggle-y stuff, not being 100% truthful. Well, I can tell him that, but I'm not going to tell him this, because if I tell him that, he's not going to like me anymore. And, it's just all this second guessing and all this manipulation, all this just total bullshit. That when you have that as the ground for an intimate relationship, the bullshit compounds to where you can't even find the truth anymore. So I think people who have been in a relationship for a while that want to try this have to just start somewhere. Start by reading this book together, or one of the other books that I sent you.
You think read it together, or should the woman, go first and explore it on her own and then introduce it?
It doesn't matter. I mean, somebody could read it and then hand the book over to someone else. All 5 of these books are fantastic. And I've read maybe 20 books on this subject, and some of them
Wow.
terrible, terrible, terrible. So,
There's a lot of crap out there.
I've curated the list because some of them say
Uh,
they're about this, but then they're really about like having hot sex. So if you want to
yeah.
have hot sex, that's a totally different topic. The
Yeah.
interesting aspect of this type of intimacy is that the sex is going to be hot, because if you're being loved for who you really are and you're showing up like that, it's going to be naked in every sense of the word, which can be like
Right.
super exhilarating. Can you imagine? It's just like there wouldn't be anything sweeter. And
Yeah.
that is going to compound too. Whatever it is that you're bringing the energetic to this type of intimacy is going to compound. So if it starts with true acceptance and willingness to see and be seen, touch and be touched, love and be loved, I can't imagine anything more beautiful. It's going to seep into all areas of life, I think.
Right. Makes it really rich. And what I've noticed is women after menopause, or as they're coming into menopause, start questioning all their relationships, and really reevaluating and saying, I'm settling, this is not working. And so a lot of times divorce happens, or the woman says, I'm waking up. Are you coming with me? Are you a player? And if they're not, they're gone.
I think that's happening with women of all ages right now, is that they're recognizing that they are actually much more powerful than they're making themselves out to believe. And I'm not talking about hashtag Me Too. I'm not talking about women's lib. I'm not talking about marching on the street with a sign. I'm talking about like the power of the divine feminine that has been suppressed and feared for many generations back. So we inherited these false beliefs from our grandparents. So it's just like, lifting your head out of the sand and going, wait a second, who am I?
And it is, yeah. So are you saying, who do you think this is for? Who do you think this book
I think
was
it's
written
for anyone who wants to create a more loving world. And I do mean that, like whoever sees the problems of the world as stemming from a dysfunctional paradigm of dominating, or dominating or oppressing. I can point to any problem in the world and see it as a problem of dominating and oppressing, of controlling, manipulating, bargaining, of cajoling, of, piecemeal acceptance. And it's like divine feminine is total acceptance. It's total unconditional love. So where does that start? How do we get the world to understand unconditional love? It starts here. Then it starts with the partner, then it moves out from there. There's no other way to do it. You can't march on Capitol Hill about unconditional love. It's just, that's the old paradigm. Marching isn't going to do it. Hope I'm making sense.
You are to me. And I think it's important. I know it's important.
Yeah, you asked me where, tell us about your experiences. You explored the practices in Neil Carter's book. Where do you begin? Where did I begin? As I looked at the function in my own intimate relationship with my husband, and I looked at the half-truths and the filtering down of trust, that it started to become dysfunctional, even though both parties were willing to make the marriage work, so to speak. It came basically from not feeling seen, not feeling honored, Not,
you didn't feel seen and honored, or neither one of you did?
I didn't feel seen and honored.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'd have to ask him if he felt seen and honored.
Yeah,
But
but you knew you did.
it led to toxic behavior, which started to, again, whatever it is, it compounds in an intimate relationship, in my opinion. So
Mm.
I had to look at what went wrong to figure out what it was that I wanted to create the next time, because I'm just coming into this like incredible love for myself that I didn't even have when I was with him, because it was too shadowed by his opinion of me, his projection on me. And I think a lot of it had to do with fear, frankly. Fear. He was afraid of
Yes.
who I was becoming. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No blame. Either you can do it or you can't, but
Mm-hmm.
that's why I had to let it go.
So you noticed you were behaving in toxic ways, and I assume he was also, and you said, I can't be who I really am. I can't evolve into this and create this kind of relationship.
Right.
Yeah. So when did you start listening to the book?
I started to put myself on a program of educating myself about Divine Feminine when I realized that was actually the call of the day. It's what needs to happen in the world today. And I don't know how I got that. Just, kind of landed on me. So I put myself on a course of study, I just
Mm-hmm.
decided to find out everything I could about it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting, just resources started popping out of nowhere. And as I say, some of them weren't good resources, but most of them were great.
Mm-hmm. But you were able to discern. You knew you could screen it and go, no, this is not.
Yeah, I knew this wasn't about getting your rocks off, You don't watch porn and do that. We're talking about something much more that has the potential to actually change the dynamic of the entire world, on a fundamental level. It's got profound implications as far as I can tell. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this. So that's why I wanted to find out as much as I could. It's really interesting too, because it ties back to my Buddhist training. I've been a Tibetan Buddhist yogini for over 45 years, 50 years, something like that.
Wow.
So no, not 50 years, but a long time.
You started when you were 3. How old are you now, Anne?
I'm 61. Wow.
And younger every day.
Well, that's the other myth. I don't think you need to buy into the, I'm aging, so I'm contracting. That's a choice. You can contract if you want to, but why would you want to? It's like, no, I'm aging and I'm expanding. I'm expanding my mind. I'm expanding my physical health. I'm expanding my imagination. I'm expanding my joy. Why not? You don't have to buy into the whole thing of nobody thinks older women are sexy or whatever. Talk about a bunch of crap. Older than what? It's like everyone's older than something. So, it's like, what is that? I just don't get it. I don't buy it. I really
don't buy it. You understand it.
I see people my age walking down the street like they're geriatric. And I'm like, what are you doing with your energy? How sexy do you feel? If you don't feel sexy, go find a way to feel sexy. Dance around the house. I don't know.
Well, do you think this book helps women feel sexy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can read the book or you can live the book. I think you should put it into practice. And
Hmm.
it doesn't even necessarily mean you have to have a partner. You know,
Mm.
the book has ways of working with your own energies if you don't have a partner. But
Ah,
if you start to work with it, you probably will attract a partner.
yeah, right, exactly. So look out. Okay, so it's for single women. It's for women of any sexuality.
Yeah,
Do it with a female partner,
any
male
age.
partner,
Mhm.
any age. Okay. All right, that's pretty sweeping recommendation. Well, while you were going through it, did I mean, I know you're an emotional being, so did emotions come up for you?
I got excited. You
Yeah.
know, I felt my my mind open and my heart open, and I started to get excited about the potential of really practicing intimacy in this way.
Hmm.
And I started to really expand my vision of how if enough people did this, how it would actually influence communities and change things for the better.
Hmm.
You know, I really think this is the keys to the kingdom for what it is that we're all looking for. Yeah, somebody said, and I can't remember whose quote this is. It might have been Buckminster Fuller, who said, "You can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it,
Yeah.
the same energy that created the problem. To solve a problem, you have to actually think of it in a whole new way."
Hmm.
So I think we have to really re-examine how we're showing up in our lives in the most fundamental aspect of our lives. How are we showing up for ourselves? How are we showing up for our partner? Let's just start there, you
Hmm.
know, before we try to change.
Save the world.
Yeah, that is how you save the world, in my opinion. It seems
I
so
agree.
practical.
It it does, and I think a lot of people, a lot of women especially, don't know about this. They've never
Not
heard of
yet.
it, or they've heard of tantra and said, "Oh, that's a bunch of weird esoteric positions
Kinky
and
stuff. Yeah.
kinky and weird, and you have to go to weird people to learn how to do it." And there's no way my husband's going to go for that, or there's no way I'm going to do that. That's not me.
Right.
What would you say to them?
That's really not what it is at all.
Mm,
It isn't what it is at all. Um, it's it's being real with somebody. It's being real with somebody.
mm.
It's like practicing being real with somebody.
Practicing, good. Thank you. Because,
Practicing
yeah,
it. We spend so much time so busy doing checking everything off our list, building our careers, making money, doing blah 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 for their kids. You know,
running.
la 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 la, like ants on an anthill. It's unbelievable. And how much time do we spend actually practicing love? You
Mm,
know, practicing being transparent in our loving relationships with our significant other.
wow, good
It's
point.
hardly any.
Minuscule, I would say.
Minuscule. That's
Mhm,
the leftover time. And it's like
yeah.
it's usually very functional, especially if you've been with that person for a while. It's become a little ho hum or whatever. You
Mhm,
don't think it's necessary, or you talk yourself into thinking your sex drive is petering out, or
right.
all that is bullshit. It's bullshit. I don't
Oh, say,
buy it.
okay, say more. No, say more about that because I hear that all the time from women after menopause. They're like, I don't know where my sex drive went. It used to be really strong. Now
It's
I don't care.
it's because you're not being honored as a divine feminine, and it's because you're not honoring yourself as divine feminine. You know,
Mm,
it's like the power of the feminine. It gave birth to all of us. We all came out of the womb. I mean, this is very very old stuff. You can find it in the Mary Magdalene transcripts that I told you about. You
mhm,
know, that's pretty profound stuff. The Magdalene transcripts is her relationship with Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
that was channeled by someone who I think was actually really authentic. It rings true to me. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
What was the question again?
I forgot that. Oh, women say my sex drive is gone, kiss it goodbye. I'm
Yeah,
too old for that.
right.
That's
Because they haven't been honored as the goddess that they are, and so they forgot to honor themselves. They've kind of given up on themselves, because if you're looking, it all starts with your relationship with yourself.
right.
Like how can you bring yourself back to that awe of being in a body as a woman, as a goddess? How do you show up for yourself? How do you dress this thing that you're walking around in? How do you take care of it? How do you honor it? How do you really honor it? That's when you start to feel sexy. It's not about trying to be somebody else. It's like really finding out where's your fire.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
not living in your passion, that's your responsibility. You have to actually do what turns you on to be even remotely sexy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
Are you wearing
Yeah.
the color that you really should be wearing? Right now I'm wearing gray, which is not a good example, but usually I'm like really like decked with, arm
What?
bracelets and lots of color. And, I just didn't go out of the house today. I've been meditating.
Right. But that helps you feel alive. So taking really good care of yourself with great food that you love to eat, and traveling, being with like-minded people, meditating, all the things you do.
Yeah, if you're giving
Treating
up on yourself, then
yeah, loving it.
it's not going to work. So
Yeah.
where's your passion? Where's your fire?
Mhm.
What turns you on, and are you doing that? I refuse to think that women of a certain age, live for their grandchildren. That just sounds like, what?
Yeah.
Great if you're enjoying your grandchildren, but I think there's a little more to it than that.
Mm-hmm. There is. Yeah. So what would you say to a woman who says, well, this all sounds great and I can do this for myself and, feel sexier, but how am I going to entice my husband to try this? He doesn't go for this kind of stuff.
He doesn't know what he's not going for until he knows what it is. So just start by reading a book like this, or reading, God, these books are so great. This book is called Tantra, Sex for the Soul by Neoso Carter. There's one by Barry Long called Making Love, Sexual Love, the Divine Way. It's written by a dude.
Okay, that might help.
The Heart of Tantric Sex by Diana Richardson. One of my favorites, Tantric Quest by Daniel Odier. His account, being educated by a yogini in the forest when he was, I think, 24. And the last
right, yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's like a movie, except it's his actual experience. She was 40 something, he was 20 something. Whoa, really out there. Loved it. Could start there. And then the last one that I had on the list, Karma Mudra, The Yoga of Bliss by Dr. Nida Chinangsan, which is a Tibetan Buddhist book, so to speak. I just reread that. I just was reading that today. And it's really interesting because these practices have been around for thousands of years, and they're usually very secret. They usually don't tell people outside of the Buddhist tradition how to do this stuff. But this doctor has recognized that, just like I did, he just dropped from the ether this idea that this is really the time that people have to understand how to do this. And it's not going to take the whole world to do it. It's just going to take people who have the consciousness that it's important to do this, to actually have the means to do it. There aren't a lot of Tibetan Buddhist teachers giving these empowerment. So he just crossed the line and said, here's the practice. And I know for a fact, because I was empowered to do it, that this is authentic and very, very accurate instructions. And none of it's complicated. It's not like you have to have a belief system or be a Buddhist.
Oh, good. We don't have to become Buddhists.
No.
That's good news.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's simple, and the first step is to explore it on your own, and then invite your partner to come in and read the book with you, and just start there. She takes you through. I'm sure she starts out in a very simple way.
You know, that book may float your boat, or one of the other ones on the book list would float your boat. But all 5 of those books are excellent places to start. Just pick one.
Okay.
Read it. And then see if it floats your boat. None of it is esoteric. None of it is highfalutin. None of it, is outside the realm of something that anybody could do if they genuinely wanted to do it.
Okay.
You asked me at the end of this, the questions that you sent me, you said, do you behave in new ways? And I wrote more humor. If I want to be in a truthful relationship, I need to be truth. If I want to discover unconditional love, I need to be unconditional love. So these are opportunities, these are practices for becoming what it is that you want to see in yourself, in your partner, in your world. These are modalities. This idea of tantric relationship, of total transparency and willingness, honoring, spending time in nakedness with someone else. It's just, if you don't have a sense of humor, you're dead in the water. But I actually think if you don't have a sense of humor, you're dead in the water anyway.
Well, anyway, right.
So you asked me, from your exploration of these concepts and practices in this, what are your primary takeaways? And my primary takeaway is the truth will set you free. And on the second takeaway is women have to take the lead in this situation by remembering authentically who you really are, not as an idea of who we've been told we are, but to remember our divine power, our divine essence as a woman. And that's a personal thing, it has been suppressed, it has been pushed aside, it has been misappropriated, it has been, it's been confused. But it's time for people to remember, and the people who have to remember first are the women. Remember who you really, really are. That might take some reflection or some inner work, so to speak. It's a lifestyle too. It's a path. It's a practice, like meditation. Now I'm excited about it.
Tell. It is exciting. I'm inspired. I've learned so much just by listening to you, and really, this is radical.
It is radical, and it's just this just the little scratching the surface. Hopefully I live for another 50-something, 60 years. Why not? It's all mindset. Just don't buy the old shit. If you catch yourself thinking, I'm too old for such and such, or I'm too I'm not pretty enough for blah, blah, blah. It's like,
I lost 30 pounds. Blah, blah, blah.
ah, you
Yeah.
can't sell yourself a bill of goods like that. I mean, you can, but why?
But why? But you have a choice. And what are you choosing? And I love the concept of we're using our embodiment as a physical woman to create this whole new way of being in the world, which is going to create change in the world in a way that really nothing else has.
It's absolutely required right now. You know, and the men will catch up. They haven't experienced divine feminine because we haven't embodied it. So we've all bought into this whole lie of how we're supposed to be. But if we show up authentically as divine feminine, then the masculines who are awake enough to appreciate it will come forward. Maybe there's not so many of them, but that's where it starts. You know, maybe there's not so many of them now, but we have to give the few that are awake enough the opportunity to understand who we are, you know. The whole way of thinking about the whole thing. It's like sign yourself up, put yourself on a mission. I have. I hired myself for this.
And what's your mission, Anne?
To show up as divine feminine, you know, to let my freak flag fly, to not buy into these old paradigms of constraint, of of all that bargaining and submitting and holding my energy back, or not feeling my own power, not feeling my own sexuality, my own wisdom, my own everything. Is like, who's to blame for that? I am. So that's the buck stops here.
Yeah, no more victim.
No more anything. No more siren, no more seducing, no more cajoling, no more
manipulating.
None of it. That's got to go. No, so I'm just not going to show up in a relationship like that anymore. And if that means I'm not in a relationship, so be it. I've drawn a line in the sand. It's like, this is required. So I might be on an island by myself, but at least I'm on the island of truth.
And you will have some people there with you. Maybe not a lot, but that's okay.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
To let myself out of the box, you know. It's like, I really, really want to live an authentic life in my full power for as long as I'm taking a breath. And this seems to be the way to do it. And there's a lot of resources out there. I'd start with these 5 books. And if you're interested in exploring it more, let's go. You know, there will become groups, and there are already blogs and podcasts and all sorts of people saying all sorts of stuff. I think most people are not thinking for themselves about this, or not reflecting enough in their inner work to really bring the truth out of themselves. It's like, you don't want to market this stuff. You don't need to
package it,
promote it. Just show up as it, you know, and let's start there.
And my guess is a lot of people who are doing that, you know, promoting it and selling it, their thing about it, are not actually practicing it.
I don't know. That's their business. I just telling you, my MO is going to be, I want to embody this fully for myself. So to do that, I have to understand it, and I actually have to reflect about it, and I have to practice it myself. You know? Otherwise, it's just a bunch of words on a page. Who cares?
Yeah. It's not going to change anything. Wow. Well, is there anything else you want to add? I mean, certainly you're welcome. If you reflect on this or something pops up for you, please send it. You know, I'm still editing and writing. So
yeah, I mean, intimacy is probably the hardest thing to do. being intimate with yourself and truthful with yourself is a tall order, and being intimate and truthful with someone else is, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But I think it's a noble undertaking.
Mm.
If you could actually cultivate a life of unconditional love for yourself and for your partner, then you would be completely free. And that doesn't mean sunshine and puppies all the time. It means you'd be completely free if you were having a challenge, or you'd be completely free if you were not well, or you'd be completely free with things as they are.
Mm.
And that seems to be a really worthwhile endeavor, to try to cultivate that.
Yes.
It's
Wow.
exciting to me.
What a big vision and promise, you know. I believe you. It sounds like if I do this, that's what I'll have.
Oh, you should do it. There's no reason not to do it.
I've started. I started reading the book, and I gave it to Kent, and he had a lot of feelings about it that
Well,
made
he
him
might have
stop.
feelings about it before he reads it, but he might have different feelings about it after he reads it. So
Right,
don't judge
right,
a book by the cover, Kent.
right. He got into it, and then he his he was mad and sad about it. So, which is good, you know, it's breaking him open. And then the uh, it was on Spotify, you know, that plays podcasts, and thank God it's on there. It's awesome. And then his Spotify quit working.
Shut him down.
I was like, "Are you sure?" So, you know, more to be revealed, but I'm continuing, and you know, it's all working its way out.
Well, the Mary Magdalene transcripts,
Mm,
there's this is kind of off the record, you know, I consider our interview to be over, but I'll just tell you
yeah.
that I feel like that book by Tom Kenyon and Judy Sion,
Yes. Yes.
I read it, I got it skeptically, thinking, sure, they you know, they downloaded this from Mary Magdalene.
Uh-huh.
Read her part of it. I loved it. Am I breaking
Mm.
up?
Yeah. No, you are. You were
My,
fine till just now.
my internet connection is unstable. And then
There.
I read their afterwards, and her story is part of the afterward part of it.
Mm.
By the end of the book, I'm going, you know, this is really great because I don't have to write this book. They already wrote it. Takes the pressure off of me. It's just I can
That's
just go
right.
read this, because it it it's it kind of blew my mind, Lee. It really did. I mean, of all the books that I read, and maybe it was more resonant because I'd read these other
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
and a bunch more, which, you know, there's a huge stack here. It's just like some of it's okay.
Mhm.
But
But
those five are like, those
thank you.
five. But then the Mary Magdalene book was just like, I couldn't really believe it. I couldn't believe that I was reading something that I was so resonating with.
Wow.
It
And
just,
this is the channeling from Mary Magdalene
yeah,
through Judy.
no, through Tom.
Oh, through Tom.
Tom channels the Hawthorns, and
Yeah.
he's a sound healer, and you can just say whatever you think about, you know, someone who's channeling 12-foot tall beings who are, you know.
No, I'm totally down with Tom and the Hathors. Yeah.
So his wife Judy asked him to try to channel Mary Magdalene
Right.
one
And
night.
he said no or whatever.
Oh, he
Yeah.
said yes, and so as soon as he tuned in, he got her. So
Ah.
like the first time you dial the number, the person says hello. Oh, there you are. So,
Hi. Hi, Mary.
so they started doing, you know, she started transcribing what she was
Mm.
getting.
Whoa.
I just absolutely loved it. And I'm not a Christian. I don't know
Yeah.
that much about the references in the Bible. I know about the loaves and fishes and stuff like that, but
Right.
it just put a whole new spin. And the thing that I really loved about the Mary Magdalene download was that she really talks about how the church pushed women into the horror category.
Yep.
And it has resonation all the way to where we're living now, the time we're living in now. So it kind of fit the puzzle pieces together for me.
Right.
And then to hear Judy's story, holy mackerel, these people are, woo,
Yeah.
really,
Okay.
really high vibe people.
Yes. Yeah.
They're not recommended any higher.
Huh.
I'm
Well,
going to read it again and again. I really
okay, stop the recording then. I want to say something.